The village of Karkin stood at the foot of the Sol-Agi volcano for 300 years. 300 years and not a single eruption. The residents considered this the merit of their faith. Every generation, rituals, prayers, offerings, the first harvest into the fire, the best livestock into the fire, everything best to Sol-Agi, because Sol-Agi sleeps and must not be allowed to wake. So said the priest Han-Uri. Old, with a voice that knew how to fill a space, with eyes that looked at people as tools. Han-Uri had served Sol-Agi for 40 years. He knew by heart all the ritual texts, all the prayers, all the rules of sacrifice. And he knew when the volcano begins to wake. The earth trembled for the first time at the beginning of spring. A small trembling. Dishes rattled on the shelves. Chickens grew restless. Han-Uri felt it and wrote it in his book. The trembling repeated 3 days later. Then again. Then stronger, Han-Uri thought. Thought for a long time. Nearly a month. He stared into the fire, read old texts, walked to the crater at dawn and stood at the edge, listening. Then he gathered the village. The village was small. 40 families, farmers, shepherds, a few craftsmen. Simple people, hardworking, believers. Truly believers, not for show. Sol-Agi was part of their lives like the weather or the harvest. Real. Alive. They gathered at the temple, small, stone, with an eternal flame inside. Han-Uri spoke for a long time, about how Sol-Agi is waking, about how small sacrifices no longer soothe it, about how the old texts say that when the volcano begins to breathe, a great sacrifice is needed. Human, pure. Who? Someone from the crowd asked. A child, said Han-Uri, 10 years old. A pure soul, untainted by the sins of adult life. Sol-Agi will accept such a sacrifice and sleep again. The crowd was silent. Then it spoke. Long, heavily, with the kind of talk that happens when people convince themselves of something they have already decided. Who is the right age? Children who turned or will turn 10 this year. Several names. They discussed each one. Whose family would lose more? Whose child clings harder to life? Who among the children first saw the trembling of the earth, as if that mattered for the ritual? In the end, they settled on one name, Ryuin, son of the blacksmith Rihan and his wife Sul. He would turn 10 in a week, a quiet boy, serious, with dark eyes. He lived at the very edge of the village, closest to the volcano. Han-Uri wrote down the name. Rian did not know. For a week he lived as he always had. He helped his father in the forge, carried water for his mother, drove the livestock to pasture. He only noticed that the adults were looking at him differently. Not the way they used to, with pity. He asked his mother. Sul turned away, said everything was fine. His father said nothing. He stood at the anvil and struck the iron with his hammer, and the blows were heavier than usual. On the night before the festival, Rayin woke to voices behind the door. He lay still. He listened. Han-Uri said it must be done, his father was saying. His voice was hoarse. The whole village decided. We cannot go against the village. He is our son. His mother's voice, quiet, broken. Sol-Agi will wake. The lava will flow. Everyone will die. 40 families, him alone or all of us. A long silence. We did not decide this. The gods did. Gods do not take children. Han-Uri says, Han-Uri is an old man who enjoys power over people. Silence. Then footsteps. His father was leaving. His mother cried quietly, so quietly, the way people cry when they don't want to be heard. Rian lay in the darkness. He understood everything. He was not afraid immediately. At first there was something else, cold, sharp, like when you pick up metal that has just been pulled from ice water. Then he lay back, closed his eyes. He thought. In the morning, the festival. The whole village gathered at the temple. Decorations, flowers, fire. Like a real celebration. Rian stood in the center in new clothes, white, ritual, worn for the first time in his life, and looked at the faces of the people around him. 40 families. He knew them all. There was the blacksmith Pa Raiyi, who had fixed his first wooden sword when he broke it. There was the old woman, Se Ma, who always gave him honey when he walked past. There were the children he had run through the fields with last summer. They were looking at him. Not all the same way. Some with pain, with lowered eyes. Others with that expression people wear when they have convinced themselves they are doing the right thing. A few were simply waiting for it to be over. His father stood to the side. He was not looking. His mother was looking. Her face white, motionless, her eyes already dry, all cried out. Rian looked at her. She looked away. Han Uri began the ritual. Long words, incomprehensible, in the old language. Smoke from the temple fire, thick, fragrant. The people around repeated short phrases after the priest, swaying in time. Rian stood still. He had thought about escape the night before. Where to run? The volcano was behind him. The forest was being patrolled. He had heard people moving through it during the night. The road to other villages was blocked. He had heard that too. Nowhere to go. A village of 40 families had prepared carefully. The procession moved toward the crater. Rian walked in the center. Two men on either side. Solid. Silent. They did not hold him roughly, but they held him. The path to the crater. 20 minutes of climbing. A familiar trail, he had walked it many times. He looked at the rocks, at the sparse shrubs that grew right at the volcano's edge, heat-resistant and tough. The earth trembled faintly underfoot. Sol Agi was breathing. At the edge of the crater they stopped. Heat rose from below. Not unbearable at this distance, but felt. The glow of the lava tinted the rocks red and orange. The air smelled of sulfur. Han Uri stood at the very edge. He raised his hands. More words in the old language. Rian looked down. The lava was far below, 200 meters maybe. The crater was not narrow, wide, with ledges on the walls. He had seen this before, looked down many times out of curiosity. Ledges. He had thought about them during the night. Not as salvation, just thought. Because thinking was better than lying there listening to his mother cry. The ledges were uneven, wide in places. If you fell not straight down, you could catch yourself. You could. Not for certain. But you could. Han Uri finished his words. He turned. He looked at Rian. Sol Agi is waiting, he said. Rian looked at the crowd, at his mother. Sol stood in the last row. She was looking at him, her face white, her hands clasped at her chest. He looked at her for a long time, then he turned away. The two men led him to the edge. He jumped himself, not because he had accepted it, because he did not want to be pushed. That was the last thing he had control over, exactly how he would fall. He jumped and immediately to the side, not straight into the center of the crater, toward the wall, toward the ledge he had seen. Air rushing past, heat from below rising. The crater wall, past, close. He hit. Hard, very hard. Shoulder, side, head. But he caught himself. His fingers found a crack in the rock. His feet found a foothold. He hung there. He looked up, the crater's edge far above. Small figures of people. Han Uri looking down. Rian could not see his face from this distance. He crawled downward, not up, down and sideways. Toward another ledge, then the next. The heat was building. The skin on his hands was burning. Breathing grew harder. The crater wall was not smooth. An old volcano, many cracks, many ledges, if you knew where to look. He looked. He crawled. Halfway down, he found a cave. A side opening in the crater wall. An old gas channel, long empty. Narrow, dark. Rian squeezed inside barely. He lay down on the hot stone. He breathed. Outside, heat and the light of lava. Inside, darkness. Hot, heavy, but darkness. He lay there for a long time. Then he noticed the cave did not end. It went further in, somewhere. From somewhere. A faint movement of air. Not hot air. Just air. He stood. He went inside. The cave widened, then narrowed again. Then a fork. Then another. Rian walked in the darkness with his hands along the walls, slowly, carefully. He fell several times. He got up. The heat decreased the further he went. Then he fell for real. Not a stumble, a gap in the floor, narrow. He had not seen it in the dark. He flew downward again, falling again, hitting rock again, pain again. and landed on something soft. He lay there, he breathed, the softness beneath him. He touched it, not earth, something organic, warm. He opened his eyes. The darkness was not complete. Somewhere in the cave walls, a faint reddish glow, magmatic veins. He did not know that then, just light, faint, red. He looked at what was beneath him. He stood up quickly. He stepped back. Beneath him was a nest, large, made of bones and something resembling fur, and in it, eggs. Several, the size of his head, dark, threaded with red. And around the nest the darkness was moving. Eyes. Many eyes. Looking at him. He did not sleep his first night in the cave. The creatures did not attack. They watched. He understood later that he had disturbed the nest but not destroyed it. In their logic, that gave him the right not to be eaten immediately. He sat against the wall. He looked at them. They looked at him. In the morning, one of the creatures came closer. The size of a large dog on 6 legs with a carapace. A long snout, teeth visible. It stared. Ryan did not move. The creature sniffed him. It moved away. The next 3 days, hunger. There was no water. Then he found an underground stream, nearly boiling but usable if he waited for it to cool in a hollow. There was no food. On the 4th day, one of the creatures left a piece of meat beside him. Not fresh. Riwin looked at it for a long time. He ate it. He survived because he did not try to be human in these caves. He understood that quickly. In the 2nd week, human rules did not work here. Strength, territory, hierarchy. That was what worked. The creatures that lived in the caves understood this. He killed his first beast in the 3rd week. It attacked. Not one of those from the nest, a different one, larger. It came from the depths. Rian was still weak then, hungry, without a weapon. He survived because he was angry, not at the beast, at the village, at his mother who had looked away, at his father who had struck iron with his hammer, at Han Uri with his old words. Anger gave him something. Warmth from inside, sharpness in his movements, a refusal to lie down and not get up. He killed it with a rock. Slowly, ugly, exhausted. But he killed it. Year 1, survival. He learned to eat what he killed. Learned to find water. Learned to sleep lightly. You could not sleep deeply here. He learned to read the darkness. His eyes adjusted, began to see more than human eyes should in such blackness. Not mysticism, just adaptation. The body can do what you do not expect of it. The creatures from the nest grew used to him. They did not accept him. They simply stopped considering him a threat. That was enough. Year 2, the first weapon. The bones of large beasts are hard. Some magmatic rock is sharp. He spent several months breaking and testing before he had something resembling a knife. Crude, awkward, but a weapon. With a weapon, things became easier. With a weapon, he went deeper. The caves descended in several levels. Each level, different creatures, stronger, larger, more terrifying. Rian descended carefully. He watched. He studied. He came back. In the 3rd year, he found the first humanoid demon. This was Kar. 2 human heights tall, broad, with skin the color of cooled lava. Dark red, cracked. Small horns at the temples. Eyes yellow, like a cat's. He was sitting in the far corner of the lower level eating something. He noticed Rayan immediately. He stood up. Rayan did not run. He stood. Kar looked at him, tilted his head, said something in a language Rayan did not know. "I don't understand," said Rayan. Kar tilted his head again, then made a gesture. "Sit." Rayan sat. Kar sat too. He looked at him. Then slowly, with difficulty, he spoke in the human tongue. "Small, alive, long here, 3 years, 3 years." Kar looked at him. "Alone. Alone. Why here?" "They threw me away," said Rayan. Kar was silent for a long time. "People," he said. Not a question. "Yes." Kar said something in his own language. By the intonation, a curse. Kar knew the human language poorly, with gaps. Many words missing, but enough. He had lived in these caves for 100 years. Alone, his tribe had perished once, long ago, to human demon hunters. He was the only one left. He went down. People kill demons, he said once. 1,000 years, they say demons are evil. I lived. I bothered no one. They came and killed mine. For what? For being demons, said Kar. No other reason. Rian thought about this. I am human, he said. I know. You don't kill me. You are not a hunter, said Kar. Hunters come with iron weapons, with magical marks. You are a child who was thrown away. That is different. With Kar, Rayan learned the demon language. Slowly, through mistakes, through laughter. Kar laughed rarely, a low sound, as if he had forgotten how it was done, but sometimes he laughed. And he learned other things from Kar. Demon strength is not magic in the human sense, something else. An inner flame that lives in every demon. Kar called it soar. The rough translation is core heat. You are human, Kar would say. You have no soar. How do you know? I feel it. Every demon feels another's soar. You have none. Then what do I have? Kar thought for a long time. Something else, he said. Not soar, but like it. Anger that does not cool. That is rare even among demons. Year 4. Riin began to subdue the beasts. Not with magic, with force and the logic of dominance. The creatures in the caves understood hierarchy. The strongest is in charge. He had grown stronger after 3 years of constant fighting, hunger, and adaptation. He started with the small beasts, those that lived on the upper levels. He defeated them, did not kill them, demonstrated power. They acknowledged it. Not all at once. Some only after the second or third fight. One had to be killed in front of the others so the rest would understand. By the 5th year, he had something resembling a pack. Kar watched this with interest. You are building an army, he said. A pack, for now. What for? To get out of here, said Rian, and burn the village of Karkin. Kar was silent for a long time. It will take time, he said. I know. I will help. Rian looked at him. Why would you do that? Because the village of Karkin stands at the foot of Sol Agi, said Kar. And beneath Sol Agi are my dead. 100 years no one has disturbed them there. If people come looking for you, they will come here. I do not want them to come. Solid logic. Agreed, said Rayan. Year 6. He descended to the 4th level for the first time. Kar had warned him. There are old ones there, he said. Not like me. Ancient. They have been sleeping for a long time. Do not go there until you are ready. How do I know when I'm ready? When you are truly unafraid of death. Not when you say you are not afraid. When it is real. Rian thought about this for a year. Then he went. The 4th level was different. Not simply darker and hotter. Different in feeling. As if the air here was denser, heavier. Every step harder. Not physically. Some other way. The pressure of presence. He saw the first ancient one after an hour of walking. The creature was not moving. Enormous. Rian estimated its size at about 12 meters in length, lying curled up, resembling a dragon, distantly. Scales dark, almost black, with red veins like magmatic rock. Breathing, visible by the movement of its sides. Slowly, very slowly. Asleep. Rian stood. He watched. The creature opened one eye, large, a vertical pupil, yellow, like Kar's but on a different scale. It stared. Rian did not run. He stood. The creature said something. Not in the demon language Rian knew. A different language. Deep, vibrating. One that made the surrounding stones hum. I don't understand, said Rian. The creature closed its eye. Rian stood another minute, then walked on. He spent 3 months on the 4th level, not the whole time. He went back up for food and to Kar. But he descended regularly. He was learning. Not from the ancient ones directly. They did not speak to him. He simply observed. How they moved, how they used their strength, how they held their territory. Their flame, soar, was visible here. Dark red, almost black. Dense. Ri-in watched and understood that what Kar had spoken of, the anger that does not cool, was not just a metaphor. He felt it in himself. A constant fire, quiet, steady, not hot, not like the demonic kind. Colder, darker. Soul Agi, the volcano that had swallowed him and failed to digest him. Something had remained from that, from the lava, from the heat, from the caves. Something had entered him and stayed. He did not know what to call it. He simply used it. Year 7. He met the second humanoid demon. She was sitting by an underground lake on the second level, staring into the water. Ryan stopped. He watched. Not quite a woman. A humanoid form, yes. But wings, folded behind her back, leathery, dark. Skin pale, almost white. Hair black, long, trailing into the water. She felt him. She turned. Eyes red. She looked at him calmly. "You are the human," she said. In clean human language, without an accent. "Which human?" "The one who has been living here for 7 years. Everyone in these caves knows about you. Have you been here long?" "No. I arrived recently." She stood, tall, slender. "My name is Shy, a succubus. If the label matters to you, Ryan." "I know." "Why did you come?" She looked at him. "I heard there was a human here who subdues beasts and is friends with Kar," she said. "I wanted to see. You are younger than I expected. 17. They threw you here at 10. "Yes. People," she said. Not a question. The same tone Kar had used when he spoke about people. "A village," said Rian, "as a sacrifice to the volcano." She looked at him for a long time. Something in her face, not pity. Something else. Recognition. "People drove me out too," she said. "Not into a volcano. Just drove me out. I lived among them for 300 years, quietly, bothering no one. Then a new priest said a succubus is evil, and they drove me out. Where were you going?" "Nowhere specific." She looked into the water again. "I just walked until I found the entrance to the caves." Rian thought. "Stay," he said. Shai looked at him. Surprised. The first time something alive showed in her face. "What do you need a succubus for? You know people. You know how they think, how they speak, what they fear." Rian looked directly at her. "I will need that." "When?" "In 3 years," he said. "An army." That was what this was now. Not a pack. An army. On the upper levels, small beasts, fast for scouting and distraction. On the middle level, large ones, armored for direct combat. Kar, separate on his own terms but with Rayin. Sure, advisor and scout. And 3 others he had found over the 9th year. The first, Sor. A demon warrior, lower level, young by demon standards. Only 200 years. Tall, lean, with 4 arms. 2 he used with weapons, 2 with Sor. He spoke little, moved precisely. He came on his own. Simply came and stood beside Rian, as if that was how it was supposed to be. Rian asked why. "You are building something," said Sor. "I want to see what comes of it." The second, Neris. A female demon, not a succubus. A different type. Rian did not know the name. Small, with claws that could cut stone. A specialist in poisons and potions. Mushrooms and herbs grew in the caves that she knew how to use. She came after She had brought her. "She can do things I cannot," she explained. "We will need that." The third, Vaughn. Vaughn was different. Enormous. Larger than Kar. Carapace instead of skin. 4 horns. He spoke rarely, and when he spoke, everyone listened. Old. Very old. In his presence, Kar held himself differently than usual. Quieter. Rian had found him on the 4th level. Vaughn had been sitting there alone for an unknown length of time. "Why did you come?" Vaughn asked, his voice like stone against stone. "I am looking," said Rian. "What do you see?" "A powerful creature sitting alone." "And?" "That is a waste," said Rian. Vaughn looked at him for a long time. "You are human," he said. "Yes." Humans kill demons. Some humans throw their own children into volcanoes, said Rian. That does not mean all humans do, and it does not mean I am like that. A long silence. What are you building? Said Vaughn at last. For now, a way out, said Rian. After that, we will see. Vaughn stood. Slowly, like a mountain deciding to rise. I will go with you as far as the way out, he said. After that, I will decide what comes next. Rian turned 20 in the cave. No one celebrated. He had not said anything. He simply knew it himself. He lay down that evening and thought that 10 years ago on this same day, he had stood in white ritual clothes and looked at the faces of the village. He remembered every face. He had not forgotten a single one. The way out was found through Kar. Kar knew the caves better than anyone. 100 years in them. He said there was a place where the wall was thin between the cave and the outside world. Not a volcanic exit, a side passage, an old tunnel that had collapsed many years ago. There are rocks there, Kar said. Many, but not a monolith. They can be cleared. How long would it take? One person, a long time. Van, quickly. Van looked at the blockage. A week, he said. Van cleared the blockage methodically, without hurry, a few hours each day. The stones he moved were enormous. A person could not shift them. He moved them like pebbles. On the 7th day, he broke through the last one. Light from outside. Daylight, gray, autumnal. It struck his eyes like a blow. Rian squinted. He opened them slowly. Forest, trees, grass, sky, sky. He had not seen sky for 10 years. He stood and stared for a long time. Kar beside him did not step out immediately. He stood at the edge of the opening. He looked at the light as if it were something unreliable. I have not been outside for a long time, he said. 100 years, said Rian. Yes? How is it? Empty, said Kar. Outside is empty without the caves. Rian understood what he meant. The caves had become home. Outside was foreign. Shur stepped out without hesitation. She spread her wings slowly, with visible pleasure. She raised her face to the gray sky. It has been a long time, she said. Sor stepped out and immediately began scanning the area. Professionally, the way a soldier checks a perimeter. Neris crouched beside the first bush. She touched the leaves, smelled them. Van stepped out last. He stood. He looked at the forest, at the sky, at the distant smoke above the trees. Karkin, he said. Not a question. 3 kilometers to the west, said Rian. The smoke was ordinary. Stoves, fires. The village was alive. Rian looked at that smoke. 10 years. They came to Karkin in the evening. Rian walked first. Behind him Kar and Sor. Behind them Shu and Neris. Vayin off to the side, in the forest, with the main mass of beasts. Waiting for the signal. The village, the same. The same houses, the same gardens. The same temple with its eternal flame. A little older. One house was new. The trees along the road had grown. People near the houses saw them. First silence, then shouting. People ran, hid. Someone grabbed weapons, pitchforks, axes, and stood. From the temple came Han Uri. He had aged. He had stooped. But his voice was the same. Demons, he was crying. Sol Agi has sent them. Pray. In stepped forward. He stood so that Han Uri could see his face. The priest went silent mid-word. He stared. Ray, he began. Yes, said Rayin. The crowd behind Han Uri was also staring, recognizing slowly, with difficulty. The boy who had been thrown away had become different. Tall, broad, with scars on his hands and face. The same eyes, dark, but different. 10 years of darkness looked out from them. He found his mother in the crowd. Sol stood by her house. She had aged greatly, more than 10 years should have done. She was looking at him. Rayin looked at her. For a long time. Then he looked away. Han Uri, he said, his voice even. You said Sol Agi needed a sacrifice to sleep. You are alive. It is a miracle. Sol Agi has returned you. Sol Agi did not return me, said Rayin. I survived on my own, because I caught a ledge in the crater, because I found a cave, because I spent 10 years killing beasts with my bare hands so I would not starve to death. Silence. The volcano has not been sleeping, Rayan continued. For 10 years the earth has not trembled. Not because you threw a child into it, because that is how volcanoes work. They tremble and they settle. You knew this. Han Uri said nothing. You knew, said Rayan. The old texts you read, they describe cycles of volcanic activity. I found fragments of stone tablets in the caves, ones that existed before your temple. I read them. You needed power over the village. Fear is the best tool of power. The trembling of the earth was a good pretext for fear. You don't understand. The sacrifice was not needed by Sol Agi, said Rayan. The sacrifice was needed by you. Han Uri opened his mouth. He closed it. The crowd behind him was silent. In that silence there was something new. Not fear of the demons. Something else. People looked at the priest and began to remember, to count, to add things up. Rayan gave them a minute. Then he raised his hand. From the forest the beasts came. The village of Karkin ceased to exist by morning. Rayan had ordered no killing, only destruction. Houses, the temple, crops, stores, everything that made up the village, remove it. Drive the people out. Kar disagreed with this decision. They threw you in to die, he said. I know. They deserve death. Perhaps, said Rayan. But if I kill them, I am just revenge. If I drive them out with nothing, they will live with that. Every day. For the rest of their lives, Kar thought. That is worse than death, he said at last. Yes. Han Uri stood on the road as the villagers left. He stared at the burning temple. Rayan approached him one last time. Go, he said. Han Uri did not move. You think I was wrong, the priest said quietly. But I truly believed. Sol Agi. Go, repeated Rayan. Nothing in his voice. No anger, no pity, just the word. Han Uri walked. Rayan watched him go, small, stooped, along the empty road. His mother left with the others. She did not look back. Or she did look back. He did not see. He was looking the other way. They made camp at the foot of Sol Agi, where the outermost houses had once stood. Shur sat beside Rayan. She looked at the ashes. What now? She asked. I don't know yet. We have an army, she said. But an army without a purpose is just a lot of angry creatures in one place. I know. A purpose is needed. Rayan was silent. He looked at the horizon, at the smoke still rising from the temple, the last smoke of Karkin. He thought about Han Uri and his power over people through fear, about the village that had killed its own child because one old priest said it was necessary, about the fact that this was not a unique village, that this was everywhere. There is a purpose, he said. What is it? A place where this does not happen, a place we build ourselves, by our own rules. A kingdom, said she. Perhaps. People will not accept a kingdom of demons. Then it will not be only demons, said Rayan. Whoever wants to live by rules that are fair, let them come. Human, demon, beast, it makes no difference. She looked at him. That is harder than it sounds. Everything is harder than it sounds, said Rayan. Kar came over. He sat down on the other side. He was silent. Then he said, I will help build it. Sor stood by the fire. He did not turn around, but he said, So will I, Vaughn in the darkness beyond the camp. His voice low like the rumbling of the earth. I will see what you build. Then I will decide. Neris quietly sorting through her supplies. She said without looking up, I need certain plants that only grow in the southern foothills. If we are moving in that direction, convenient. Rayan looked at each of them in turn. An army of beasts in the forest. 5 beside him, each with their own reason, their own story, their own grievance against the world. The fire was dying down. Tomorrow a decision had to be made about where to go. In the morning, a council, the first real council, not a conversation around a fire, a council proper. Rayan understood this when he saw that all 5 had gathered without his invitation. They had simply come and sat, which meant they understood that something was changing. There was no map. Rian drew in the dirt with a stick, from memory, from what he knew of the geography around Sol Agi. Not much. He had not had much schooling, a few years in the village, then 10 years in the caves. East, said Sor. The foothills are there. Few people, plenty of space, a good position. Few people means few resources, said Neris. Construction needs a great deal. Stone, timber, food. There is a river to the west, said Shai. A large one. I passed it on my way to the caves. Trade routes there. Villages, small towns. Resources exist. People exist there too, said Kar. Many. They see us. They will attack. Or we negotiate, said Rian. Everyone looked at him. The villages by the river are not under the crown. Small landholders, independent. They dislike royal authority because of taxes. Rian drew in the dirt. If we come not as conquerors but as a force that can protect, some will choose to negotiate. And some will take up arms, said Kar. Yes, that is inevitable. War. Not war immediately, said Rian. First, a place. We need land to build on. Not inhabited, empty. There is such a place. How do you know? Asked she. The stone tablets in the caves. Old maps. They mention a valley to the northwest of Sol Agi. Abandoned. There was a settlement there once, long ago. Then they left. Why did they leave? It is not written. But if it has been empty for 300 years, it cannot be that bad. Van, who had been silent until then, said, I know that valley. Everyone turned. The Valley of Sore, he said. It was abandoned because it was too close to the lands of the ancient demons. People were afraid. The ancient demons left 200 years ago, further north. The valley is empty. You know it personally, asked Rian. I was there, long ago. Vaughn looked off to the side. Good land. A river on two sides. Stone in the nearby mountains. Hard to attack from the outside. Hard to attack matters, said Sor. How long to travel there? Asked Rayan. 3 days, said Vaughn. We leave in 3 days, said Rayan. Why 3? Asked Neris. Because we need to take supplies for the road. And because the army needs to be prepared for the march. He looked at the forest where the beasts were waiting. They know how to fight. Whether they know how to walk 3 days without a fight is another question. The 3 days passed in work. Shai went out on reconnaissance alone, quickly. She returned with information. A village 2 hours to the west, small. Food there, tools, cloth. We will take it, said Rian. Take it from peasants, Kar corrected. Call it what it is. We will pay. Kar looked at him. Pay with what? We have no money. We do, said Rian. He went back to the ashes of Karkin. He found what he was looking for. The temple had burned, but the foundation remained. In the foundation was Han Uri's hiding place. The priest had kept donations there that he never gave back to the village. Rian had known about it. He had seen it once by chance as a child. Coins. Not many, but enough for a first purchase. Shur handled the village elegantly. She passed through as an ordinary trader, wrapped up, wings hidden. She bought grain, salt, rope, a few tools. She came back. Did they look at you strangely? Asked Rayan. They looked. But the money did its work. She laid out the purchases. I heard talk there. Neighbors are saying something happened in Karkin. People arrived with nothing, saying demons burned the village. The rumors have started. Quickly, Shai confirmed. Royal patrols will arrive sooner than we thought, said Sor. That is why we are not leaving in 3 days, said Rian. Tomorrow morning. The army on the march was a strange sight. Hundreds of beasts, varied. 6-legged, armored, winged, wingless. They moved not chaotically. They had a hierarchy that Rian had spent 7 years building. The elder beasts, the ones he had subdued first, kept order. Shur flew overhead, scouting. Vane walked first. He knew the way. Rian walked in the middle of the column. He looked around, he thought. On the second day they were found. Not a patrol, a lone hunter. He came out of the forest into a clearing and stopped. He watched what was passing before him. His face was white. Rian raised his hand. The column stopped. He walked up to the hunter, alone, without Kar. "What is your name?" he asked. The hunter did not answer. He was looking at the demons behind Rian's back. "Your name," Rian repeated. Tain, the hunter managed. "Tain. I am Rian. We are passing through this forest. We do not touch people who do not attack us. You are not attacking us." "No," Tain said very quickly. "Then go where you were going," said Rian. "And tell everyone you meet. An army is passing through this forest. It does not touch peaceful people. It is headed for the Valley of Sor." "Why tell them?" "So that people know and do not get in the way out of foolishness," said Rian. Tain looked at him for a second. He nodded. He left quickly, almost running. Kar came up from behind. "He will tell." "I know," said Rian. "The patrols will come faster. The patrols will come regardless." Rian moved on again. "Better they know we are going to a specific place, not prowling through the forests." "Why is that better?" "Because then they will have a choice," said Rian. "Attack or watch. When there is a choice, people think. When there is no choice, they just strike." Kar digested this. "Clever," he said. "Just logical." On the third day they saw the valley. Vane had not exaggerated. The Valley of Sor opened between two mountain ridges, wide, with a flat floor, with a river that came from the north and split at the valley's entrance into two arms. A natural moat. Mountains on three sides. On the fourth, to the south, forest. Empty. Grass tall, some forest within, but no structures. Only at the northern edge, the foundations of old houses. Abandoned. Overgrown. Shuri descended beside Rayan. "Beautiful," she said. "Defensible," said Sorai. "Stone in the eastern ridge," said Neris. "I can see outcroppings. We can build." Vaughn stood at the edge and looked at the valley for a long time. Then he said, "The last time I was here was 200 years ago. There were still houses standing then. A good place to begin again?" Rian stood. He looked at the valley. 10 years in caves. Darkness, the warmth of lava, the smell of sulfur and old stone. Creatures around him instead of people. Now, open sky, wind, grass to the knee. Foreign. Still a little foreign. "We go in," he said. The first weeks were chaos. Managed, but chaos. Hundreds of beasts did not know how to build. They knew how to dig, carry heavy loads, break things. Rian assigned tasks. Beasts with powerful paws. Stone from the ridge. Winged ones. Perimeter scouting, small ones. Laying channels to the river. Shur took on contact with the outside world. Not diplomacy, too soon. Just observation. She left every 2 or 3 days. She came back with information. "The rumors have reached the nearest town," she said in the second week. "A demon army in the Valley of Sor. People are saying different things. Some that they came to conquer, others that they simply settled there. What does the authority say? The authority is silent for now. Baron Hanso rules these lands. A cautious man, elderly. He does not like war, but he will not be able to stay silent for long. Pressure will come from above." The king. "Yes, the royal court already knows." Rumors spread quickly. How long until a response? A month? Maybe 2. She looked at the construction around her. "We will not build much in 2 months. We will build enough," said Rian. Neris was occupied with other things. She laid out a garden in the southern part of the valley. A strange garden, with plants an ordinary person would not recognize. Mushrooms, dark-leafed herbs, several shrubs she had brought up from the caves. "Why," Rian asked one day. "Potions," said Neris. "Healing, strengthening, poisonous. An army needs all 3. Poisonous. Not necessarily lethal," she said. "Paralyzing. Sedating. Sometimes you need to take someone alive." Rian nodded. He did not press further. Neris knew her work. Sor was occupied with the beasts. He was training them. In his own way, by demon principles. Rian watched sometimes. Sor did not explain to the beasts what to do. He showed them. He moved himself and waited for them to copy. Beasts with hierarchical thinking copied the strong. It worked. After 3 weeks, the army's movement was different. More organized. Kar was building. He turned out, unexpectedly, to be a good builder. He looked at the foundations of the old houses for a long time. Then he began. He worked with his hands and demon strength, laying stones the beast could not lift. "You know how to build," Rayan said, surprised. "I do," said Kar. He kept working. "Where did you learn?" "Before people killed my tribe," said Kar. We built. We built well." Then there was no one left to build. Rayan watched his hands laying stone with a precision that would have made an experienced mason envious. "What did you build?" "Houses. Towers." Kar placed the next stone. "We had a city. Not large, but ours." "Where?" "No more," said Kar. "People burned it." Rayan was silent for a moment. "We will build again," he said. Kar did not answer. He kept laying stone. But something in his movements became slightly different, more precise, more careful. On the 24th day, a man came, alone, without weapons, hands visible, empty. He walked across the open field toward the valley's entrance. Slowly, deliberately, so he would be seen. He did not hide. Shu noticed him first. She descended and gave warning. Rayan went out to meet him. A man, about 35, solidly built, tanned, with calluses on his hands. A blacksmith or a carpenter, something physical. He stopped before Rayan. He looked at him. Then at Kar, behind Rayan's shoulder, at the walls already rising in the depths of the valley. "They say you are building here," he said. "We are," confirmed Rayan. "What are you building?" "Walls for now, then more." "What for?" "To live," the man thought. He turned his hat in his hands. "My name is Ho-Ren," he said. "A mason. From the village of Pal, that is 3 hours to the south." Pal is a small village. Baron Hanso raised the taxes 3 years ago. Half the families left. Those who stayed are barely holding on. "I heard you were building here." "I came to see." Rayan looked at him. "Why did you really come?" Ho-Ren was silent for a moment. "They say people can live here alongside demons," he said at last. "They say you do not touch peaceful folk." "We do not." "That is true." "True." Ho-Ren looked at Kar. For a long time, directly. Kar looked back, also directly, not looking away. "I am a mason," Ho-Ren repeated. "A good one. 20 years of work. If masons are needed here, I will stay." "Why do you trust us?" asked Rayan. "I don't," said Ho-Ren simply, "but there is nothing for me at home. Here there is at least work. We will see." Rayan stepped aside. A gesture. "Come in." Ho-Ren crossed the threshold of the valley. He looked at the walls, at the beasts hauling stone, at Kar doing the laying. He walked up to Kar. He looked at the masonry. "Uneven," he said. Kar looked at him. "Here," Ho-Ren pointed. "And here. Stones of different sizes. You need to level the courses, otherwise the top will lean." Kar looked at him, then looked at the masonry, then back at the man. "Show me," said Kar. Ho-Ren took a tool. He showed him. Kar watched. He nodded. From that day they worked together. A week after Ho-Ren, 3 more came. Not together, on different days. A young woman, an herbalist, from a ruined village. An old tanner who said there was nowhere else to go. His children had died of illness. His wife had died. A teenager of about 15. No name at first. Then he called himself San, one of those who leave because home is worse than the unknown. Rayan received each of them. Not with embraces, with questions. Who? Where from? What can you do? Why did you come? He looked at their hands, their faces, the way they carried themselves. She observed this process and said one day, "You are testing them. Yes, the way you tested the beasts in the caves." Rayan thought. "Similar," he agreed. "No," said she, "the beasts you tested with force. These you test with words. That is better." On the 32nd day, Rayan gathered everyone. Everyone. That was about 12 people who had come by then. His 5 generals, and the elder beasts. Those who understood speech. There were not many of those, about 10. They gathered by the unfinished walls. Rayan spoke standing. No platform, no ritual. He simply spoke. We are building a place, not a village and not an ordinary city. A place with rules I have not seen anywhere outside. I will state the rules now so everyone knows. First, no one gives another as a sacrifice. Not to gods, not to volcanoes, not to fear. Never. Under no circumstances. Second, strength does not give rights over the person beside you. Kar is stronger than Ho-Ren. That does not mean Kar can do anything to him against his will. Sor is faster than any of the people here. That means nothing except that Sor is faster. Third, work is paid, what we agree on. Right now, there is nothing to pay with. Later, there will be. Fourth, everyone who came here voluntarily may leave voluntarily, without consequences. Fifth, an external threat is shared. Not people protecting people, not demons protecting demons. Everyone protects everyone. He fell silent. He looked at the faces. Ho-Ren nodded slowly. He was thinking it over. Kar stood with an unreadable face. Sor quietly said something to Neris in demon tongue. She answered. Vayne was silent. As always. San the teenager looked at Rian with wide eyes. The old tanner raised his hand. May I ask a question? Speak. The fifth rule, said the old man. If the king's army comes and starts killing, the demons will stand for the people. Yes. And the people must stand for the demons if they are being hunted. Yes. People have been at war with demons for 1,000 years, said the old man. I was taught from childhood that a demon is evil. You were taught wrong, said Rian. Silence. I lived with demons for 10 years, Rian continued. There is more honesty among them than I saw in a village of people. That does not mean all demons are good. It means the good and the bad exist everywhere. Also, Kar lived 100 years alone in caves because people killed his tribe, not for attacking, for being demons. The old man looked at Kar. Kar looked at the old man. Understood, said the old man at last, simply, without ceremony. He sat down. Rian looked at the others. Any more questions? Silence. Then we work. On the 45th day, Baron Hanso sent a man, the messenger, young, in fine clothes, with the Baron's seal. He came on horseback, alone. He stopped at the valley's entrance and did not go in. Rian came out to him. The messenger looked at him, then past him, at the demons, the walls, the people working alongside demons hauling stone, something in his face. Surprise he was trying to hide. Baron Hanso requests a meeting, said the messenger. Where? Neutral ground. The Baron proposes the tavern in the village of Mary, that is between the valley and his castle. Tomorrow, at noon. The Baron alone. The Baron with 2 advisors. Very well, said Rian. I will come with 2. The messenger nodded. He rode away. Shuri appeared from somewhere above. She folded her wings. A trap, she asked. Perhaps? Hanso is a cautious man, you said so yourself. Cautious men do not set traps without preparation. Then not a trap. Then what? He wants to look at us up close, said Rian. To make his decision not from rumors. I will go with you, said Shai. No. Why? Because a succubus at a meeting with the Baron is a distraction. He will be thinking about you and not the conversation. Rian looked at her. Kar will go. The Baron will be afraid of Kar. Let him see that I come with someone who looks frightening and still do not attack, said Rian. That says more than words, Shai thought. Logical, she said reluctantly. The tavern in Mary, small, wooden. The owner met them on the threshold. He came out himself without servants. He looked at Kar for about 5 seconds without blinking. Then he stepped aside, without a word. The professionalism of a tavern keeper who has seen much. Baron Hanso was waiting inside. Elderly, about 65, thin, with attentive eyes. 2 advisors behind his shoulder. 1 military by his bearing, 1 civilian. Rian sat across from him. Kar stood against the wall. A chair would have been awkward for him. The Baron looked at Rian. Young, he said. 20 years. Who are you? Rian. From the village of Karkin which no longer exists. I have heard of Karkin. The Baron did not look away. What happened? The village threw me into the volcano as a sacrifice. 10 years ago. Plainly, as if talking about the weather, I survived. I came back and burned the village, destroyed it. The residents were driven out alive. The Baron was silent for a moment. Why are you building in the Valley of Sor? To live. With demons. With demons. With people. With anyone who accepts the rules. What rules? Rian laid them out. Briefly, precisely, the same 5 rules. The Baron listened without interrupting. The military advisor frowned at the second rule. The civilian advisor leaned slightly forward. That sounds fine in words, said the Baron, when Rian fell silent. Practically impossible. Why? Because people and demons cannot live together. 1,000 years of war. 1,000 years of war that people started, said Carr from the wall. Quietly, without aggression. Simply, the Baron looked at him. For the first time in the meeting, he looked at him properly. You are old, said the Baron. Very, agreed Carr. Do you remember the beginning of these wars? I remember. The Baron looked at him for a long time. Then he turned his gaze to Rian. What do you want from me? Not much, said Rian. Do not attack us. Do not hinder people who want to come to the valley. That is all for now. For now. In time? Trade. We will have something to offer. Rian looked directly at him. You pay heavy taxes to the king. The lands under you are not rich. A trade route through the Valley of Sor will shorten the road to the northern markets by 2 days. The civilian advisor wrote something on a small tablet. The Baron noticed. 2 days, he repeated. 2 days, Rian confirmed. Silence. The Baron looked at him. Then at Carr. Then back at Rian. I will not attack you, he said at last, and I will not hinder people from going to you. As long as you do not attack my people and do not build an army against the crown. I already have an army, said Rian. I can see that. But it is not against your crown. It is mine. That is a fine distinction, said the Baron. It is a large one, said Rian. The Baron stood. He extended his hand. Rian shook it. They looked at each other for a second. 2 people who both understood this was temporary, that a greater storm was still ahead. But for now, until our next meeting, said the Baron. Until our next, answered Rian. A month after the meeting with Hanso, a messenger, not the Baron's envoy, a royal one. The difference was visible immediately. Different clothes, different seal, different bearing. People who serve the king directly carry themselves differently. He arrived with a detachment, 10 mounted soldiers all armed. They stopped at the valley's entrance. Rian came out alone. The messenger, young, precise. He unrolled a scroll. He read in an official voice. In the name of His Majesty King Soren III, Rian, referred to as leader of the demon army in the Valley of Sor. The kingdom does not recognize the rights of demonic beings to land within royal borders. You are given 30 days to disband the army and disperse the demonic forces. Upon expiration, a military cleansing operation will be conducted. He finished reading. He rolled up the scroll. He looked at Rian. Rian was silent for a moment. The answer is this, he said. The Valley of Sor stood empty for 300 years. No one lived here. We came to unoccupied land. We do not attack the kingdom. We trade with Baron Hanso. We live in peace. If the king sends an army, we will defend ourselves. The messenger looked at him. He wrote something down. That is your official response. Yes, I will convey it, said the messenger. He turned his horse. They left. Shur descended beside him. 30 days, she said. Yes, that is not enough. Many things are not enough, said Rian. We will work with what we have. He walked into the valley. Behind him, open field, road, dust from the departing horses. Somewhere out there, the capital, the palace. King Soren III, who does not like that demons are building their own place on his land. 30 days. The council gathered that same evening. The walls by then had risen. Still not high, but solid. Carr and Ho-Ren had worked well together. Inside the valley, several structures, a storehouse, living quarters. About 30 people who had come in the last weeks. They sat in the center by the fire. What do we have? Rian began. Not rhetorically, literally. He wanted to hear from each of them. Sor first. An army, he said. About 400 beasts. Of those, 200 fit for direct combat. The rest? Support, scouting, flanks. Against a regular royal army in open field. Not enough. Why? Asked Rian. People know how to fight in formation. Beasts do not. They will not hold a formation. Their nature is different. So the tactics must be different. Not a frontal engagement. The valley, said Kar. Narrow entrance, rivers on two sides. If they come in here, they will lose their formation. They will not come in, said Van. They will stand outside. A siege. With a siege. Food, said Neris. How many supplies? A month, said Ho-Ren. Maybe a little more if we cut back. With a siege and an army outside, fewer people will come to us, said Shai, which means less food coming in. Silence. A siege is not to our advantage, said Rian. Open battle is not to our advantage either, said Sor. So not a siege and not open battle. Then what? Asked Kar. Rian looked at the fire. We need the king to not want to fight, he said. A fine idea, said Sor. How? Make the cost of war with us higher than the benefit, said Rian. The king wants to destroy us because demons are a threat by definition. Tradition, history, 1,000 years. If we become a value, a different conversation. How do we become a value in 30 days? Asked Neris. Not in 30 days. Rian raised his gaze. In 30 days, show that it is worth trying. Be specific, said Sor. The king has enemies besides us, said Rian. Not internal, external. The northern clans. They burn border villages every summer. She said that Baron Hanso spends a third of his money defending the northern borders. You want to offer the king military force, Kar said slowly. I want to offer a solution to a problem he cannot solve himself. Kar was silent for a long time. We will fight for the people who want to kill us, he said at last. We will fight for the land we live on, said Rian. The northern clans threaten not only the king, they threaten Baron Hanso. Baron Hanso is not indifferent to what happens to us. That is already a connection. A thin connection. It always starts thin, said Rian. She looked at him. You do not just want to offer help, she said. You want to show it, before anyone asks. Yes, that is a risk. Everything is a risk. Vaughn said from the corner. The northern clans are strong. I know them. I fought them 2 centuries ago, but they do not like surprises. We are the surprise, said Rian. Shai found them in 4 days. The Vor clan, the most active on the border. 300 men with a camp in the foothills. They were preparing for a summer raid. This was visible from the supplies and the movement of people she had observed for 3 days. Map on the ground, again with a stick. But more precise now. She drew well. The camp is here, she said. The road to the border is here. They will go through this pass. When? Asked Sor. 3 days. Maybe 4. We can get there first. If we leave tomorrow, said Shai. Rian looked at the map. We do not attack the camp, he said. Then what? Asked Sor. We intercept at the pass. Rian drew a line, a narrow point. They have nowhere to maneuver there. We show that the pass is closed. 300 men against our 200 combat beasts, said Sor. Plus the 5 of us. Plus the 5 of us, Rian agreed. That is enough at the pass, said Sor. Without boasting, just an assessment. We do not need to destroy them, said Rian. We need to stop them. So they leave. And so they remember. Kar quietly. So they tell others. Yes, said Rian. They set out at dawn. 200 beasts moved through the forest quickly. Sor had worked well with them, without unnecessary noise, without disorder. Rian walked in the middle, Vaughn at the front. He knew these mountains. They found the pass by the evening of the 2nd day. Narrow, 30 meters at its widest point. Rock walls on 2 sides. The only road from the north to Baron Hanso's border. Rian looked at it. A good place? Yes, said Vaughn. We stop here. We wait. They waited a full day. The Vor clan arrived the next morning. They moved with confidence. They had walked this pass for many years, they knew it. The forward scouts came out first and stopped. Ahead stood the beasts. in silence, without moving, and among them, a man, young, dark-eyed, in plain clothes. He stood calmly. Behind him, a demon 2 heads taller with dark red skin, and another, enormous, with carapace and 4 horns, and more. The clan's scouts went back. Quickly, time passed. Then the clan's leader came, a large man, armed, accompanied by his senior warriors. He stopped. He stared. Ri-in stepped forward. Alone. "The pass is closed," he said. In the northern dialect, Shur had been teaching him for 3 days while they walked. Poor, with an accent, but understandable. The leader looked at him. "Who are you?" "Ri-in, the Valley of Sore." "I have heard of you," said the leader. Slowly, "The man with demons." "Yes." "Why are you closing the pass?" "Because beyond this pass are lands under my protection," said Ri-in. The leader looked at the beasts. He counted. He assessed. "We have 300 warriors." "I know. We will get through." "Try," said Ri-in, without menace. Simply, a long silence. Van behind Ri-in's back shifted. Just the sound of that movement, stone rolling under his feet, carried across the pass. The leader looked at Van. Van looked back. The leader made a gesture with his hand, not forward, back. The clan's warriors stopped. "We are leaving," said the leader, "this time. But we will return. Each time will be the same," said Ri-in. The leader looked at him for another second. Then he turned. The clan withdrew. Sor came and stood beside Ri-in. He watched them go. "They will come back. I know. Next time with more men. Next time we will also have more time to prepare," said Ri-in. Shur descended from above. "Hanso needs to know what happened here," she said. "He will find out," said Ri-in. "The clan will tell it themselves, not us. Their own people. The rumors will spread. It will take time." "Then we help it along," said Ri-in. He looked at her. "You know how to appear and disappear without being noticed." "I do." "Baron Hanso has an advisor. The civilian. The one who was writing at the meeting. He is intelligent. Find him. Tell him. Myself? Yourself. But not as a spy, as an envoy, openly." Shai looked at him. "You want Hanso to feel that he is being told. Not that information leaked on its own," she said. "Yes, subtle. Just honest," said Ri-in. 2 days before the deadline, Hanso sent a courier. Not an official messenger with a formal letter. Just a courier, a boy of about 16, on a fast horse. He handed over a note. Ri-in unfolded it. 3 words in the Baron's handwriting. "Tomorrow. The same tavern." Hanso was in the tavern alone, completely alone. No advisors, no guards. He sat with a mug. When Ri-in came in, he looked up and nodded at a chair. Ri-in sat. Kar stayed by the door. "The Vor Pass," said Hanso. Without preamble. "Yes. My people spent 3 years trying to stop the clan at that pass." Hanso looked at him. "It did not work. Now it worked. You did not do this because I asked. You did not ask. Then why?" "Because beyond that pass are lands adjacent to our valley," said Ri-in. "If the clan burns villages, the people who might have come to us will not come. Too frightened. So for your own sake." "For my sake and for yours at the same time," said Ri-in. "That is not a contradiction," Hanso thought. He took a drink from his mug. "The royal army will march the day after tomorrow," he said. "I know. The deadline expires tomorrow. 1,500 soldiers." Hanso looked at him directly. "I cannot stop this. I am a baron, not a prince. The king does not ask me. I am not asking you to stop it. Then what do you want from this meeting?" "Nothing," said Ri-in. Hanso was surprised. For the first time across 2 meetings, genuinely surprised. "Nothing," he repeated. "I wanted to tell you personally that we will not strike first, and that if soldiers enter the valley, we will defend ourselves. You will lose men. The king will lose men. This could have been avoided. Why do you tell this to me? I do not make the decision. Because you will be the next one to speak with the king," said Ri-in. "Perhaps, if you choose to." Hanso looked at him for a long time. "You are 20 years old," he said. "Yes. Where does this understanding of people come from? From caves, said Rayan. Hanso unexpectedly smiled, briefly. I will rise early tomorrow, he said. Perhaps I will have time to write a letter to the court. Perhaps you will, said Rayan. He stood. He bowed. He left. The army appeared on the horizon at dawn on the 31st day. Shir saw them first from the air. She descended and reported briefly. 1,500. Cavalry, infantry, archers, royal banner. There is one man separate from the main formation in different clothing. Not a soldier. A mage, said Sor. Or a messenger. Rayan stood on the wall. He looked at the horizon. He saw dust, the glint of metal, banners. 1,500. Behind him, the valley. 30-some people. 5 generals. 400 beasts. Kar came and stood beside him. Are you afraid? He asked. No, you're lying. Then a little. That is normal, said Kar. Those who are not afraid at all. They are not thinking. You are thinking. The army stopped half a kilometer from the valley's entrance. It deployed. Slowly, professionally, with the experience of many campaigns. Infantry in the center, cavalry on the flanks, archers in the third row. From the center, one rider came forward, a messenger, the same young man who had brought the ultimatum. Rayan came down. He walked out to meet him. They stopped 10 meters apart. The deadline has passed, said the messenger. It has, Rayan agreed. You refuse to comply. We refuse to leave land that no one occupied for 300 years, said Rayan. That is different. The messenger looked at him. Behind me are 1,500 soldiers, he said. I know. You will perish. Perhaps, said Rayan, but you will lose many men before that happens. The general leading these forces. He explained the cost to the king. Taking the valley against our defenses is not a quick matter. The cost is acceptable. To whom? Asked Rayan. To the king? Yes. To the soldiers who will die. Another question. I have a different proposal. The messenger was silent. He listened. Let me speak with the person who makes the decision. Not with you. I respect you, but you carry words. Rayan looked directly at him. With the general? Or with whoever is above? Why? Because a conversation is better than war. That is spoken by the one who will lose in a war, the messenger observed. That is spoken by the one who has already lost enough, said Rayan. The messenger turned his horse. He rode back to the army. Rayan stood. He waited. Shy in the air above, barely visible. Watching. Time passed. 2 riders came from the army. The messenger and another. The second in good armor, not young, with a close-cropped beard, a general in every way, his seat, his bearing. And beside him the one in different clothes, the one Shir had seen apart from the others. They rode up. They stopped. Rayan looked at the general. I am Sol Khan, said the general. Commander of the northern forces of the crown. Rayan. I have heard. Who is the man beside you? Asked Rayan. The man beside the general answered himself. Not young, about 50, with a calm face. His clothes not military, dark, plain. Advisor Kanmo, he said. Royal Council. Baron Hanso wrote a letter. I came to see. Rayan looked at him. What did Hanso write? That something interesting is being built in the valley of Sore, and that destroying something interesting is wasteful. The Baron is a reasonable man, said Rayan. Yes. Kanmo looked at him. Then at the valley's entrance, at the walls, at the beasts standing behind the walls. Their silhouettes were visible. I propose the following. I go in, alone. I look. Then I speak with the king. General Sol Khan looked at the advisor. That is a risk, he said. My risk, said Kanmo calmly. Rayan looked at the advisor. He saw a man who was not afraid. Not because he was brave in a simple sense, because he had thought and made a decision on the basis of thought, not fear. Rare. Come in, said Rayan. The advisor walked through the valley for 2 hours. Alone. Rayan walked beside him, not interfering, just there in case of questions. There were questions. Kanmo looked at the walls, asked who had built them. He learned about Kar and Ho Ren. He made a sound. He looked at Neris's garden, asked what was growing. Neris answered briefly. Kanmo was not afraid of her. He simply nodded, wrote something in a small book. He saw San the teenager, who was now helping Neris. He asked where he was from. He heard the answer. He wrote it down. He looked at the beasts for a long time. He asked Ri-In how they were controlled. Hierarchy, said Ri-In. Force and consistency. They understand power. Do they understand you personally or any strong individual? Me personally, said Ri-In. So without you they fall apart. For now, yes. In time, Sor holds apart independently. Kanmo wrote it down. Then he stopped in the middle of the valley. He looked around, at the people and demons working side by side, exchanging words, carrying stone. How many people are here now? He asked. 34. They came voluntarily. Voluntarily. Why did they leave their villages? Each has their own reason, said Ri-In. But mainly, life was hard there. Life was hard in my kingdom, said Kanmo. Not a question. A statement. Yes. The advisor looked at him. You are accusing the crown. I am saying that people came here, said Ri-In. You draw the conclusions. Kanmo unexpectedly smiled. Restrained, one corner of his mouth. Clever, he said. Just honest. Those are the same thing, said Kanmo. They reached the northern edge of the valley. They looked at the mountains. The Vor Pass, said the advisor. Yes, I know about this. The Vor clan has been burning villages on Hanso's border for 7 years. In 7 years, 3 royal military expeditions. Not one solved the problem. You stopped them once with no deaths on either side. Once, for now. For now, Kanmo agreed. But the method is different. Yes? Can you hold the pass permanently? I can. That costs money, resources, people. Kanmo looked at him. What do you want in return? Recognition of the right to the valley. Ri-In spoke calmly. Official recognition. The land is ours, we are not invaders. And non-interference in how we live inside. People and demons side by side. That is our affair. And a trade route, official. So that Baron Hanso can trade with us without political consequences for himself. Kanmo was silent. That is not much, he said at last. It is enough, said Ri-In. For a start, said the advisor. But such things do not stay small. You will build more. More people will come. More demons. You thought about what it will be in 10 years? I have. And in 10 years, said Ri-In, this will be a place that proves people and demons can live without war. If that happens, 1,000 years of war will end. A fine idea. The same one I told the Baron, said Ri-In. He also said it was fine. But he wrote the letter. Kanmo looked at him for a long time. I will go back, he said, to speak with the general. He moved toward the valley's exit. He stopped. One question. Speak. You were thrown into a volcano at 10 years old. You spent 10 years in caves. The advisor looked at him. You are angry at people. Yes. But you are building a place where people and demons are equal. Yes. How? Ri-In thought for a moment. I am angry at specific people, he said. Not at all people. The difference is large. Kanmo nodded. He left. Ri-In stood in the valley. Beyond the walls, an army of 1,500. Inside, 34 people and 400 beasts, and an advisor walking toward the general. Neris came and stood beside him. What do you think? She said quietly. I don't know, said Ri-In. First time you've said you don't know. First time I genuinely don't know, he said. He looked at the back of the departing advisor. He waited. The army stood until evening. It did not move forward or back. It simply stood. That in itself meant something. If they had decided to attack, they would have attacked already. If they had left, they would have left. They stood and thought. Ri-In did not sit idle. While the advisor spoke with the general, the valley worked. Ho Ren laid stone. Neris gathered herbs. The beasts on the perimeter held their positions, calmly. Shu came and sat beside Ri-In several times. The general and the advisor have been talking for a long time, she said. With other officers too. They are arguing, most likely. Let them argue. Kar asked nothing. He sat against the wall and sharpened his weapon. The sound methodical, steady. Stone on metal. Vaughn stood at the northern edge of the valley. He looked in the direction of the army, motionless, like a rock. Sor walked along the line of beasts, checking. Neris whispered something to San. The boy nodded, committing it to memory. The valley lived. Kanmo returned as the sun was setting, alone. On foot. He had left his horse. He walked into the valley calmly, as if he had already grown used to it. He found Rayan at the central fire. He sat down. He was silent for a minute. General Sol Khan wants to attack, he said. That is his work and his understanding of the order. He is an honest man. I have known him 20 years, simply a soldier. And you, I am an advisor. My work is to think beyond a single order. I will tell the king what is happening here. And what is happening here? A man of 20 survived where he should not have survived. Kanmo looked at the fire. He built something from nothing. He stopped the Vor clan without bloodshed. He takes in people who have nowhere else to go. And the most important thing. What? He talks, said the advisor. Most of those who build armies do not talk. They demand, they threaten, they attack. He looked at Riyin. Every time you chose to talk. Because it is more effective. Because you understand people, said Kanmo. That is rare. He was silent for a moment. I will speak to the king. What will you say? That it is worth waiting, watching. That the Valley of Sor is not a threat. For now, repeated Riyin. Yes, for now. The king is not a blind man. He sees a threat in principle. Demons with an army within the kingdom's borders. Kanmo spoke evenly. I cannot remove that fear with one conversation. I can only say that an immediate attack is not the best step. That gives us time. Yes. How much? I don't know, said Kanmo. It depends on the king. On circumstances. On what you do. We will build. Then, said the advisor, build quickly. He stood. The army will leave in the morning, he said. That is my decision, which General Sol Khan will accept with displeasure. One final question. Ask it. What is your full name? Not just Riyin. Riyin of Karkin, he said. There is nothing more. There will be, said Kanmo. He walked into the darkness. The army left in the morning, as methodically as it had come. Formation, banners, dust. General Sol Khan left last. He turned once. He looked at the valley's walls. Not with hostility, with assessment. He was memorizing. Riyan stood on the wall. He watched. Sure beside him. This is not the end, she said. I know. This is just a pause. I know. The king will think. Then he will decide. And the decision may be different. I know, Riyan repeated. Then he looked at her. That is why this is not a rest for us either. He came down from the wall. The valley was waiting. The next 3 months, the valley changed every week. People came, not in a stream, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, but steadily. Rumors traveled their own path. An army had come and left without a fight. That was a story in itself. Then it was added to people and demons together there, work there, rules that hold. By the end of the first month, 70 people. By the end of the second, 120. Riyan received each one personally. He did not spend much time, 10 minutes, 15, but personally. Kar asked him once why. To see who comes, said Riyan. You trust people, I check people, all 120. As long as I can manage, all of them. Kar looked at him. When there are 1,000 you will not manage. Then I will find another way, said Riyan. But for now, this way. Among those who came, varied. Farmers, craftsmen, former soldiers who had been discharged or left on their own. Several healers. One former priest who said he had become disillusioned with his temple's god because that god demanded hatred of demons and he felt no such hatred. Riyan listened. He accepted him. There were others too. Demons also came. Not as many as people. Demons rarely gathered together in general. It was against their nature. But they came. Different ones, from different places. The same questions for each. Who? From where? Do you accept the rules? Most accepted. One Rian refused. A demon came from the south, large with long claws, red eyes. He said the right words. I accept the rules. I want to live in peace. But something about him was wrong. Rian looked for a long time. Then he said to Shi, look at him. What do you see? Shi looked at the demon from the other side of the yard. For a long time. He is lying, she said quietly. About what specifically? About the peace. He has the smell of blood. Fresh. He killed someone recently. Demon or human. I don't know. But the smell is strong. Shi looked at Rian. What will you do? I will drive him out. He will be angry. Let him? Rian walked up to the demon. Leave, he said simply. The demon looked at him. I accept the rules. No. Rian looked at him directly. You say you accept them. Those are different things. Leave. You are human, said the demon. You have no right. This is my valley, said Rian, his voice even, without raising it. Leave. Behind Rian, Kar, saw Vion in the far corner, not moving but watching. The demon looked at them. He counted. He left. Neris came over afterward. You smelled the blood, she asked. No, I just felt something was wrong. Instinct. Perhaps, said Rian. 10 years in caves teaches you to read creatures without words. Ho-Ren came to Rian in the 4th month, in the evening, after work. He sat down by the fire without an invitation, already natural. Over 4 months much had changed. The people in the valley had stopped feeling like guests. I want to say something, the mason began. Speak, I build well. You know that, Kar knows that. Ho-Ren turned his leather work gloves in his hands. But I am not only a mason. I know how to organize construction, to see the whole plan. Here now many people are building, each doing their part. But there is no system. What do you mean no system? I mean we are building slower than we could, said Ho-Ren. If you give me the right to tell people what to do in the construction, I will speed things up. In looked at him. Kar will agree to you giving him orders. I already spoke with Kar, said Ho-Ren. He said he does not care who tells him what to do as long as the words are sensible. That was a compliment from Kar. That is how I understood it. Rian thought. Very well, he said. Construction is yours. Ho-Ren nodded. He stood, but he did not leave immediately. One more thing, he said. Yes, people are asking. Quietly, among themselves. Not asking you. Ho-Ren looked at the fire. What is this thing we are building? Not a village. Not a city yet. What? Tell them. A place. A place is not an answer. Then tell them a beginning, said Rian. Ho-Ren thought. People want a name, he said at last. Something specific. A place needs to have a name, otherwise it is hard to think of it as your own. Rian was silent. A name. He thought about it for a few minutes. Ho-Ren waited. He had learned to wait. He understood that Rian did not rush his words. Sore, said Rian at last. The valley is called Sore. Let what we are building be called that too. Sore, repeated Ho-Ren. He tried it out. Good. He left. The next day, the people in the valley were calling the place by its name. It was a small change. But Rian felt it as something that had settled, that had become more substantial. Sore came to him one night. Rare, usually Sore worked and said nothing. He sat down. 4 arms, 2 folded, 2 resting on his knees. I want to ask something, he said. Ask. Why are you doing this? What specifically? Sore. People and demons. The rules. Sore looked at him. You are angry at people. I can see it. Inside. You know how to hide it, but I am a demon. I feel differently. There is anger at specific people inside you and something else. Something dark. But on the outside, you are building a place where everyone can be well. Sore spoke without judgment. He simply wanted to understand. How? Rian was silent for a long time. In the village of Karkin, he said at last, there was not only Han Uri, there was Pak. He repaired carts. There was So Lim, an old man. He taught me to read before I was driven out of school because the children were afraid I was strange. There was a little girl, Rin. She would sometimes bring me apples for no reason. They did not make the decision to throw me away. Han Uri made that decision. The others followed him because they were used to following him. But they did not stop it. They did not stop it, Rian agreed, and that is also a fault. But a different one. I cannot hate Pak, So Lim, and Rin the same way I hate Han Uri. That would be unjust. A long pause. And Sore is for Pak, So Lim, and Rin. For the people who are not Han Uri. Sor listened. There are many of them, he said. They are the majority, said Rayan. Han Uri is the exception. He simply had a voice and the others did not. You are giving them a voice. I am trying to. Sor was silent for a long time. Among demons there are also Han Uris, he said at last. I know. The one you drove out a month ago. He is one of those. I know. Others will come. I will drive them out, said Rian. Or worse if they attack. And if there is someone like that among those already inside, one you have not seen yet. Rian looked at Sor. That is why I received each person personally, he said. And that is why there are 5 of you. You watch where I am not watching. Sor nodded slowly. I am watching, he said. He stood. He left. 5 months after the royal army's withdrawal, a letter. A royal seal, but not the official one. Personal. Different. Rian turned it over in his hands. Then he opened it. The handwriting precise, well-formed. Advisor Kan Mo. Rian. I spoke with the king twice, the first time he listened politely and set it aside. The second time, after news reached the capital about the Vor Pass and that the clan had not returned for 3 months, he listened differently. The king is not a kind man in the simple sense of the word. But he is intelligent. Intelligent enough to calculate benefit and cost. For now, there will be no official recognition. That is politically impossible. 1,000 years of war with demons? You cannot declare today that it was a mistake. That would destroy trust in the crown. But the army will not return. That I can promise for the coming year. Use this year, Kan Mo. Rian read it twice. Then he gave it to Shai. She read it. She raised her eyes. A year. A year. That is not enough for proper defenses. It is more than nothing, said Rayan. A year ago we had nothing. What will we do with the year? Rian looked at the valley. At the walls that had grown over 5 months. At the people and demons who walked the shared streets, worked side by side, sometimes talked. Build faster, he said. Accept more people, fortify the pass, and find a way to show the king that we are of value and not a threat. Before the year is up, how to show it? I don't know yet, said Rian. He folded the letter. He put it away. Outside, Ho Ren was shouting something at the workers. Stone rang. Ropes creaked. Construction went on. Vaughn passed by slowly, as always. He stopped. He looked at Rayan. I heard, he said, a year. I heard. What do you think? I think a year is a beginning, said Rayan. Vaughn was silent for a moment. When I came with you, he said, I said I would see what you were building, then decide. I remember. I have been watching for 5 months, said Vaughn. I have decided. Rian looked at him. And, I am staying, said Vaughn. Simply, without ornament. He went on about his business. Rian watched him go. 200 years of solitude in caves. Centuries before that. Unknown. And now, I am staying. Car somewhere behind him. Quietly. Rian turned. Car stood by the wall. He had heard. He said nothing. He simply nodded. That was enough.